let's see what they got to say about it. It's going to be nice. And Daryl's coming back. More than likely, he looks identical to her. We'll have to see, though, to be 100% sure.
We're really excited about getting this game into players' hands and letting them experience this massive world.
A main cornerstone of D4 is play your way. As a player continues to advance through the story and into the end.
Play your own way. It's hard to believe that just because the way they done the itemization, they kind of make you play a certain way. So hopefully that changes on release. We'll have to see.
They'll unlock a ton of brand new activities that provide meaningful progression, no matter their playstyle.
Players will be able to keep progressing in the narrative of the game. Alongside that, the whole team has worked on crafting a variety of different experiences players can pursue.
Now, I must say, the narrative of the game has been great so far. Hopefully, they continue down the road they've been going, and it'll be fine.
We're going to have an entire world of Sanctuary for our players to offer. There's going to never be an absence of something to do.
I hope
After the
so.
player has finished the campaign, there's a lot more game to go.
For anybody wondering what this little golden artifact thing following the player around, I do believe Joe Shelley said something about this one time. It's a thing that follows you around and it can have different effects. Now, I don't know if it's negative effects or a bit of both, positive and negative. That's just something we're going to have to wait to see and find out.
Participate in. They gain access to a special, what we call capstone dungeon that they have to complete. Once they're able to finish this capstone dungeon, they're going to gain access to the first world tier.
As you complete the world tier, it will open up the opportunity for you to go into your next world tier. That involves...
Now, I like this idea of the capstone dungeon. So when you say you're on veteran mode and you want to move to Nightmare, you have to do a certain dungeon or a boss. I'm hoping these capstone dungeons are a bit challenging. So when you do complete it, it feels rewarding to move up to the next step. So, love to see how it plays out. Could be easy. It's almost like going from normal to Nightmare in old Diablo or Nightmare to Hell, whatever. Could be something just as simple as that. We'll have to wait and see.
unlocking powerful loot, new items, and more advantages for your player to have a better opportunity at end game.
Whether you're a fan of dungeons, PvP, or just roaming around the world, there's a way to continue your Diablo adventure long after hitting max level.
I hope so. I want lots of different things to do.
As your character continues to grow in power, you'll start with the skill tree.
Now, let's take note what's going on here. Let's bring it back a little bit. Okay, so the refund cost is 105,000 gold. So points spent, 22 points spent. Available points 31. So he's probably roughly level 50, just with the probably with the renowned extra points unlocked. So that's only at level 50. Now this always scales. The higher level you go, the higher the cost. So I'm curious to see what this is going to be like at 100.
Tree and expand out into the Paragon system.
A lot of the choices the players make are grounded on skills themselves and the fantasies associated with those skills. The Paragon board is a place where we're allowed to have a...
Now, I see a lot of people being negative about the Paragon board. I think it's one of their best ideas yet. And I know they stole it from other games, but I know people are complaining about like +5 intelligence, but I was looking at the Necromancer board and there's a few different paths you could go. You could go like intelligence, willpower, and like dexterity. For anybody that don't know, dexterity adds crit chance to Necro. Every class is different. I think Barb's crit chance is off intelligence. So you can actually build your characters different ways. I don't know if people fully understand that. And once you get so far into the Paragon board, you can get like legendary affixes, or you can get like the blue ones. They're a bit stronger affixes, or they do different things. I think it's going to be really cool to see. I think it's going to change builds in a major way. It's just one of those things we're going to have to wait and see.
A lot more depth, a lot more customization, many more options as you go.
You can rotate the board, so you can choose a different path if you're like, I want to do more strength-based things. I want these particular boons or glyphs. You can chart your path through it.
And from what I know, I think every class has 4 to 6 boards. So there's going to be a lot of customization there.
And they're really a way for you to keep expanding your character and making it uniquely yours.
Similar to the Paragon boards is the Codex of Power. It's an in-game system that holds the aspects related to the character. You are able to complete a dungeon and they will have a chance to drop an aspect that you can pick up.
Okay. So if you guys just heard that like I did, in the beta, when you completed a dungeon, gaining the aspects for the Codex of Power was 100% chance. What she just said, after completing a dungeon, you will have a chance to drop an aspect. So the item will drop on the ground or the Codex of Power. So you're not 100% guaranteed. This is going to change leveling in a major way. Because for me as Necro, I could unlock my Blood Surge legendary right away. I thought I was going to be able to do that. Looks like it's going to be a bit more challenging. That's good to see.
And what this allows players to do is take items they're finding in the world and make them more powerful, turn them into legendary items.
It's really special to discover what kind of playstyle really means the most to you.
Nightmare dungeons.
Every part of Sanctuary is fulfilling and satisfying. Dungeons in particular are really close to my heart. Nightmare dungeons are going to give the players the opportunity to experience a dungeon that they might have already experienced in their past playthroughs.
Yeah,
They'll enter the
pretty
dungeon with a found
straightforward.
sigil that alters the playstyle and the intensity of the dungeon.
They're more difficult and they have additional objectives, and then they also have affixes, which add a degree of difficulty.
I'm hoping the harder you scale these, the harder they really are. Like, I want them to be either really challenging, because it gets boring just running through dungeons and just quick clearing it all the time. It'd be nice to see a real challenge or some different things. It's good to see that they're adding like negative affixes to it, so it could change your gameplay in a major way.
Difficulty for you and your group to work through.
One of my favorite affixes that you can find in Nightmare Dungeons is actually called Hellgate. Occasionally, these portals will open up throughout the area that will just pour out different monsters that aren't native to that region for you to also be dealing with while you're trying to handle everything else inside the dungeon. So
this is just like another event inside the dungeon, which could be pretty good if it rewards lots of loot, hopefully.
There's over 120 dungeons to play through and find in Diablo IV, and any one of them can become a Nightmare dungeon by finding a Nightmare sigil and then using it to activate the Nightmare version of that dungeon space.
Everything's a little darker, everything's more difficult. It's going to add a little bit of a twist of flavor on your particular dungeon.
Endgame
There's
exploration.
some targeted activities in Diablo IV that suit what you're feeling in the mood for.
The Forces of Hell are starting to have more influence in certain parts of Sanctuary in the vast interconnected overworld of the experience. And as the players are going into Helltide areas, they're going to find even more powerful monsters.
For anybody that don't know, Helltide zones are going to be like places where like demons like kind of overrun the area. The mobs become harder and it might drop better loot overall. Curious to see how hard these are going to be and what kind of different events they might have inside.
And by killing them, they'll be able to gain these special shards they can take to go and use to purchase these big rewards that are available at these caches that are found littered throughout Helltide areas.
The sky darkens and the rivers run red, meteors fall from the sky, and the monsters get harder. We really want to create new experiences for the players. There's one I really like called Whispers of the Dead, which you get from the Tree of Whispers.
Okay,
The Tree of Whispers
interesting.
is grim and a little gruesome, but it's also something mystically haunting and kind of beautiful.
The tree has a little bit of a grudge against our players and it would like for them to go serve its needs. So you're going to go serve these bounties, gather different rewards,
bounties.
different items, and bring them back to the tree in hopes that it can exchange you something really meaningful.
So if anybody don't know, if you play Diablo 3, you had to go do bounties. They're almost like side quests and you'd get rewarded for them, different things, different loot. So it's very similar. You get you get to pick your reward. And I'm assuming there's like, say you pick the boots. If you pop it open, you might get a bunch of rare boots, or you might have a chance at a legendary or even a unique. It's something we'll have to wait and see. But it's a pretty neat idea. They've done a great artistic view of the tree. It looks great. Can't wait to see what it offers.
Maybe you're going to go to the Fractured Peaks and take out some werewolves that are rampaging in a town. They're contained activities that you can do alone or in a group. We really wanted to create variety for people to be able to spend time where they wanted to in the world. It's very cool the way it's been put together, and I can't wait for people to see it, to be honest.
The Fields of Hatred.
In Diablo IV, we have a focus on the world of Sanctuary.
PvP.
And there are parts of that world that we call the Fields of Hatred, where Lilith's presence in Sanctuary has begun to seep through and manifest these poisonous areas throughout the world. When players go to these regions, they get to engage in...
Now, from the beta, I looked into my character sheet a little bit. I think depending on like certain items you're wearing, I think as a character you have like 90+% damage reduction against other players. Might even be 95. So I'm curious to see what kind of damage players are going to be doing to each other.
in player versus player conflict.
These offer opportunities for the player to collect shards. But there is a little bit of a catch. In order to get these shards back to town, you'll need to purify them. Other players will definitely know that you're attempting to purify your...
I think this is one of the best parts about Diablo 4. I think it's going to be really fun. Teams grouping together and dominating people, or teams almost against teams just by chance. I think it's going to be really cool to see. I hope it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed PvP in Diablo 2 a lot, so hopefully it's something very similar.
Take these, go back to nearby towns to sell them, and then use that to buy a whole...
So you collect your shards if you can get away with them. And then you can go back to town and gamba. Who doesn't love gamba? Now, the thing I'm going to note here is what most people didn't point out when I watched some other videos. For the PvP enjoyers like myself, if you look in the inventory down here in the right corner, that's a player's heir. We're going to be able to kill people and collect their heirs and be able to show people that you pwned this guy. You own them. It's going to be great. I can't wait. I'm glad to see it back. Hopefully it stays. I'm pretty hyped about it.
A whole bunch of like interesting cosmetic items and rewards.
It's a place for people who really love PvP and want to still get loot and still increase their character's power. If that's the way they want to play, they can.
Launch is just the beginning. One of the things we're really focused on is creating a living, breathing...
That is true. Launch is only the beginning. I recently done some digging and searching, and these guys are kind of rushed to put out this game. It's a good and a bad thing because I want to play the game right away, but there's some things they're not going to be able to fix, or some things that are going to have to stay the same for a while, maybe until Season 1. So I want the game to come out as fast as possible. I just want to play it because I'm addicted, just like everybody else. But I'd rather the game be in a better state. So hopefully on release date, the game is in a relatively good state. That's all I can hope for. They can change things as they go. There's going to be about 3 or 4 seasons a year. So give them a bit of time.
Set of updates for players to engage with after the game has gone live.
It's really just going to be a way to keep coming back and experiencing more Diablo 4 in fresh ways.
We're really eager to hear all of your experiences and just enjoy the entire story with you all.
As you guys can see, we have another world boss here. He summons bone walls on the side, try to trap you in. You can clearly see players just run in there. Well, that's it for that video. There's a great bit of news. Learned some new things. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to continue doing some Diablo 4 content. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.